Rise and shine, sleepyhead. It's a brand new day.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale.
Science! Now prepare to experience the most outrageous man on radio.
It's an excursion into the odd and into the very, very different.
Good morning!
This is insane.
Quality, quantity, and variety.
ROCKFLUX.
Let's get this show on the road.
The station for more fun in the sun.
Thank you very much. Thank you, folks.
Okay.
Thank you, Laughing Girl. Yeah, I got the hat. You know, I tell you, these things, they come within the week. I mean, sometimes days. But I didn't pay extra shipping or anything. Anyway, it's a little bit like, it looks a little too, there's headphones underneath it. It looked better without headphones. But I got to wear the headphones because that's the only way I could hear stuff like,
The only station that matters.
you know, that kind of nonsense. If I can't hear it, it doesn't come through the other speakers because of the way I'm hooked up with this stuff. But anyway, yeah, that's the hat. You know, it was like $17, and I think I got the 20% off while they had it. Because I was like signed in with a different email or something. I only paid about 15. I don't know, 14, I didn't, whatever. With shipping, it was like $15 or something. I don't know. This is a nice hat. This will be great out in the garden. Like I say, it looks a little, you know, stove-toppy Lincoln's hat, but that's just because I got headphones underneath it. You see, you know, the headphones had the loop thing around them. I don't care. You know. You know, I get the ROCKFLUX everything on. This is like a complete ROCKFLUX show. ROCKFLUX. You know, it's like, you ever feel like, not like you're catching, everything's shaking, we got an earthquake. It's a little cool in here, and I just had a feeling like something in my nose, but not like I'm catching a cold, you know, but it's like, I don't know. It's weird. Anyway, it's 4:42 a.m. Eastern Time. I said TGIF. That doesn't mean anything to me, but anyway, it's the 29th of April, and the calendar year is 2022 in the former United States, as I always say. And of course, we have the 3D man droid in the background has decided to show his face. And remember, 3D man and on-air light and all that stuff's running on basically stored battery power that I haven't had to update in the longest time. Camera 2 seems to be operational. I've got these weird glasses on, my reading glasses on. And yeah, and let's just get into it, you know.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
I have nothing majorly prepared for today other than, you know, some general commentary. I snapped that picture this morning, the one that's on the title card there. And the title of the show says, Happiness is a state of mind, not a state, as in, you know, the nation state, a state-controlled something or other. And you can reinvent yourself. Under my chat, I put, anytime you want, no one has the power over who you are, what you decide to be. Think about it. And I talk about that. That's a recurring theme, particularly last year. I used to get into that a lot. And I'm sorry if I have to refer to the white handkerchief. It's just like my nose. Just feels like I got to do that, but I don't really have to. I can breathe free and everything. I'm not sick. Yesterday was a surprise when I went out. It was 28 degrees. It was freezing. But at the same time, the sun was out, and there was no. And in the morning, when I went out to put the bird feed out, there was no frost on the ground. So I'm hoping that it was so sunny last night or yesterday afternoon that last night, even though the temperatures dipped down to freezing, that we're not going to have any frost out there now. I can't go out. I couldn't see anyway. It's dark out there. It's kind of cool in here. I don't know why. I'm waiting for the heat to come on. Sometimes when I dress, I put my Hawaiian Friday shirt on, one of many. But, you know, sometimes when it gets like this and I'll dress cooler and then I get hot, then the heat goes on and I get hot. So it's like, let's hope the heat goes on. It's 4:44 a.m. for people that kind of stuff means something to them. Anyway, let's
Weekend weather.
let's take a look at the weekend weather and see what the outlook is. I'm in the mid-Atlantic states, as I always say. So this is a good gauge on the eastern part of the former United States, at least. Today, the high is supposed to be 61 degrees. The sun is hiding behind the clouds, but that was the case yesterday. So let's just hope the sun comes out in front of the clouds. The overnight low is going to be 34, which is normally would bring frost. So if there's enough sun, we may luck out again and not have frost. Because what happens is this time of year, the ground got heat in it, and if you keep beating sunlight on that ground, there's enough heat in the soil, and the soil's moist that, it just won't freeze. So keep, hopefully. However, all that said, Saturday, your Saturday, as the weather people say, it's going to be 68 degrees, which is like, indoor, outdoor temperature. And the overnight low is only going to be 48. So forget about frost there. Sunday, as usual, we're going to get back into where it's 70% chance of thunderstorms. However, 64 in a day, but 55 at night. Monday, 20% chance of rain, but 68 and then 48 at night. And Tuesday, 50% chance of rain or thunderstorm and rain. 75 degrees and 59, almost 60 at night. So here's the deal. Anyway, that's your
Weekend weather.
So the thing about it is I'm not a meteorologist and I'm not a forecaster, and I don't want you to do something that's going to damage your crops. But we're bound to have the possibility of a frost in the first week or so of May. It's happened before. I have it in my little green growing journal, which is my 2-year journal. And if I go back to, let's go to it, just to give you, back in 21, I have a note to myself, not a good 2021 diary, do better for 2022. I'm telling myself that in this book. Anyway, here's the deal. Where are we? Sunny September 20th. What the? Oh, I see. What I want to do is get to May. I forget that I keep this through the fall. All right. Where am I? Rain, July 9th. I know there was one section where my pages were somehow stuck together, so I had June and May out of sync. I just want to make sure I get right to the point. June 1st. May 17th. Squash. May 18th were 80 and sunnies. Okay. May 14th, planting tomatoes. I put my tomatoes in May 14th last year. Yeah, there were frost warnings May 10th last year. Okay. So just so you know. And that is about, that's when people usually recommend you do your planning like after, like around the second week of May. Now, if you're like me, I'm starting. I already have stuff in the garden, my cool weather crops, and I kind of lucked out that we didn't get frost last night. And I hope we didn't get any or the night before. If we got frost last night, then I'm a hypocrite. But what it is I'm going full steam ahead because I keep burlap and these plastic things I showed yesterday. I think I still have copies of them here. Let's see. Things like that. And so if there's a frost warning and I have some kind of small, I put out a seedling. It's more than a seedling, but it's like not bigger than one of those type of containers. I'll just cover those things with that. And yesterday I took these off, those cilantro plants, and they just kind of, their leaves were like, happy to be in the sun. And I left them out overnight. I didn't put those things back on. In fact, I only put one on where you see that crinkled plastic above the parsley plant coming up. I put the one on the parsley plants because parsley, though parsley, I think winter's over, and that's like a biannual too. That's like kale. A lot of these plants, they call it volunteering. They either reseed themselves, there's the ROCKFLUX, or what they do is their biannuals means they'll come back a second year. So if you plant certain kale plants, that kale plant will just survive over the winter. It'll look like it's dying, but the next year it'll just bloom. That from that same root and stem, it will grow. But the third year, not going to happen. I mean, not going to happen. You got to plant new seeds. So you always want to keep adding more and more. So you always, and the same goes with some other plants. And I noticed my sage plants are coming back to life out of, and I trim down, they get real thick stems on them, right? And those things I was going to just pull all that stuff out. So I yanked anything that was really loose, but some of those big, thick stick stems, they were in there pretty hardy, and I just left them there when I was cleaning up. And now I noticed there's like some sage leaves growing on them. I'll take a closer picture of that one of these days and show that when I give a garden update. So it's a weird picture of me over there. I mean, I was intentionally doing that. I did that with this Apple computer. It has this thing called photo booth. So I was just kind of like, that's supposed to be TGIF, smile, be happy, and I don't know. And there's some kind of weird dot, comic dot effect. It's just not, Apple computers used to be so much better. And they had all this cool stuff in, but now you have to buy all these other programs and stuff to get those kind of effects. And let's just hope this show stays together. It doesn't cut out. Yesterday I was watching the playback. There was a point where it just jumped, from one point to another, just jumped. And what I was saying during that time, and my eyes, I'm still a little. Realize I feel awake, but I could see that my body isn't totally, my eyes aren't really totally awake yet. It's virtually impossible for me to get sick is the conclusion I come to. So every now and then I get these little bit of a nasal thing, like something's trying to attack me. But I eat so much nutrient-dense foods, anti-inflammatories, antioxidants, anti-this, antivirals. So much garlic, turmeric, and pepper, and broccoli, and leafy greens, that kind of stuff. Cauliflower. I had a salad yesterday with all that stuff. Olive oil, omega-3s. That, the body's constantly being attacked, but it just, it fights it off. I could, I even read on something, but it's like it's semi-gross. So I don't think I'm going to mention it, but it does have to do with the nose thing. And I have to give my nose a good, cleanse. I'm not going to do it on the air. Don't worry. But the point, look at those cold checks. Go. I started to watch something yesterday where I thought these guys were actually going to talk. They were talking about the mid-Atlantic circulation. I'm just going to get on this real quickly.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
And I thought, because it was they were talking about the fact that it slowed down. Now, if you understand what that is that the reason that some of the northern latitudes, particularly like England and like Northern Europe, are a little bit warmer than they should be for their location is because there's this, what they used to call a conveyor, but now they changed the name because they just like to do stuff like that, right? And what happens is it brings warm air. There's this warm circulation, and it has to do with salt water, the weight, salt water and fresh water, and the weight of one or the other, and how one sinks, and it causes this like the Atlantic Ocean to go down where the warm water is to be forced up, and the cold air comes down, gets warmed, or cold warm, and the air in effect. And so that's why it's warmer up there, or, whatever. But tell that to a lot of people I know and have communicated with in England and, in Northern Europe, and they'll tell you it's been pretty cold the past decades. That's the whole thing about the climate thing. And I'm not going to get a harp on it again, but when you talk to real people, not bureaucrats or, professors, so to speak, or UNIPC people out just living somewhere, they're going, man, it's freaking cold. If you go outside right now here in, where I am in the mid-Atlantic states, anywhere around here, it's freezing out there, and it's the end of April, okay? But if you talk to somebody from the IPCC, they're saying, oh, we got to worry about melting, and this is all caused because things are melting. It's like, man, there's nothing to do with that. It's a combination of weakening magnetic fields, an uptick, some serious volcanic activity going on right now. People just don't pay attention to this because that's the kind of stuff that should be on the news. They should say, hey, there's some crazy stuff going on with Krakatoa. Iceland. I was watching this show, YouTube. It wasn't a show, but somebody from Iceland talking about, Iceland and what's going on there, as far as their volcanic activity, which is pretty much ongoing. But how things have been changing and how Iceland is growing, constantly growing, because it's right in the center of the mid-Atlantic ridge where this magma comes up, But there's a volcano in Alaska that's like there's been some swarms of earthquakes. It looks like something might pop up there. It's nothing new that we have Alaskan volcanoes go off. But what I'm saying, generally speaking, all of the volcanoes and a few that have been kind of quiet for a while are all acting up. Just like we had that thing happen in, on that island not too long ago, out off the coast of Africa. So I covered that on this show. So that all pushes ash into the sky, and that helps even cool the planet even more. But like I say, as long as you have your temperature gauges that these people at the UNIPCC use at airports where there are tarmacs and jet engines, and in cities where they generate their own heat, yeah, it's going to look like the temperatures are warmer than they really are. But it's a big world, 24,000 miles, wide at the equator. So there's a lot of land out there, right? And it's an oblate spheroid, they call it. So the warmer part of the planet is generally has always been more. There's just been more hectares of it, or whatever you want to call it. People know so very little. They teach people so very little in school about like the planet they live on, life, health, the things that really matter. And that's what I was trying to say in my, chat here. And sorry if it's just like my nose just wants to like block up on me, it seems. Hopefully I get over this. You can reinvent yourself anytime you want. And like I say, happiness is a state of mind, not state controlled. And so these people could they could spout out and all they want and say all the things they want to. Isn't it? These are neat hats, though. And like I say, don't get the wrong impression from the way it looks on me right now, because I'm wearing these headphones and it's like boat head. It's but they're just, it's like the Gilligans. I mean, it's like,
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale.
It's a Gilligan hat, kind of. But I mean, it's soft. It's not hard. It's, and like I say, the print, whatever the printing process is, and it's the same on this shirt. I've washed this shirt so many times. This is like kind of tie-dye-ish too, but it's subtle tie-dye. And this was one of the first shirts I bought because, I was just creating a ROCKFLUX brand. And I can't tell you how many times I've washed it. Very comfortable. It's a good summer. These tees, they're good summer shirts to wear too. And yeah, it sounds like I'm pushing my stuff, but I'm just telling you, I don't know. I've got a clothing line. That's one of the things I do. I got a clothing line. And some of it's branded. Some of it's branded with my face, which is even crazier. But some of it's branded with the logo, and the other it's branded with everything is wrong, then what, and all that kind of stuff. You don't know what you don't know, and game over. I moved that somewhere else. I don't know if it's visible. Let's see. I forget where I even put it. Let's move this thing out for a second. Game over. Where is the game over? Oh, the game over hat's on top of the 3D man. I forgot. There used to be a Union Jack hat on top of him, but I figured, why am I doing that? If it'll get light before this show's over, so we'll probably be able to see it at that point. So I tried to sneak in some of this, powdery stuff that helps for the cat in its cat food, and I guess I wasted the cat food because my goal right now is that the cat lost a lot of weight, and my goal is to just fatten him up, get some body weight on him. And I wasn't going to put that stuff in it, but the stuff was real fishy smelling, and I thought, maybe I'll do it. I shouldn't have. So, because he took a few licks and then he didn't do it. So I ended up giving him something that was even more unhealthy, just one of these like sticks, like liquid stick things that they just lickables. You're supposed to they call them toppers. You're supposed to top them on their food. But I've tried topping the bland food that the vet gave me, and he just won't touch that stuff. Unless he's desperate, he'll have a few crunches out of it. So I don't know. It's weird. But, I'm just taking things day by day. But like I was trying to say is, if you're somebody who works and TGIF means something to you, enjoy it. Today should be a fairly nice day. during the daytime. And smile and be happy. I mean, what the heck? You know, like happiness is a state of mind, I guess is what I was saying in that thing. And just like a lot of things are. So, you know, they can't control your mind just yet. I mean, they're working hard to read your thoughts. They write that in a lot of their documents now, like as if that's like they're trying to put the legal right of reading your mind. And that sounds so sci-fi and so weird, you know, when you hear them say it. But when you watch this like attorney on stage at a World Economic Forum conference talk about the legalities of, you know, of like taking information, that it's not stealing or it's not an invasion of privacy to read someone's mind or to get ideas out of someone's mind. You know, it's just somehow looks like it's out of some weird sci-fi movie from the 60s. But you could actually find, you know, clips from like World Economic Forum. I mentioned this before, and they actually, this is where we are. So yeah, it's the year 2022, and it's the future. And as hard as it is for, you know, for people to comprehend that, because you just don't, you know, if you're born into the so-called future, you think, well, I don't know, it's just 2022. I don't understand. The future's, you know. No, it's the future for this current civilization. There goes the train of coal trucks. And, you know, part of another thing I was watching was about this 2030. There are certain areas right now that are going to be what they were calling carbon free by 2030, completely carbon free. And Bill Gates and Bezos and a whole series of corporations have got involved. They've put $100 billion. This is just one of the funds. A lot of Wall Street firms got together. And they put $100 billion fund that they were talking about on this one video I was watching. And this is them talking serious. This isn't like me watching some, you know, what you would call a conspiracy theorist talk about this. No, this is like them explaining this and looking for more investors type of stuff. That's the kind of, like I say, I watched I used to, when I had TV, you know, I would watch things like Bloomberg or something like that, because follow the money. You got those people make no pretensions about it. They're saying here, yeah, we're investing in this, and I'd be going, okay, so this is real. You see, you've got to watch where the big money goes. And so this was one of these videos. I know how to, you know, I'm so used to doing this because I don't watch TV. I watch YouTube. Or I'll go direct to the World Economic Forum's websites and things like that. So I want to get it from the horse's mouth. When I spout out statistics, they're usually from a .gov site. You know what I mean? But anyway, these guys were talking about this $100 billion fund to buy up all these homes. And then they were going to lease them back to the owners. But the deal was, why there was going to sweeten the deal for people to do this, and they want to do this all over the United States, is that they want to take out your whatever kind of furnace you have, you know, if you have a gas furnace like I do, and replace it with green energy. And so they want to have certain areas, and there were some areas like up in, I think in in Brooklyn, one portion of Brooklyn, and it's actually called some block, BLOC fund or block something. And the idea is that they're buying up blocks at a time. Look at how many trucks are going up, because it is cold outside, you know. Anyway, so they got to generate that heat. But what these guys don't understand is Anyway, so they want to buy blocks of houses, lease it back to you, in a sense, to pay for them turning your house into green energy. And it sounds on the surface great. And then after you X amount of years, you've paid off this system, then it's yours. But see, there's two things that they didn't talk to because there's nobody interviewing them, right? Number one, these so-called green systems, this is more trucks than I've seen in a long time. These so-called green systems, like I told you, the windmills are already falling apart, all right? There's already millions of them out of commission, okay? And they take fossil fuels to put up and to repair and to do all that stuff. So that's like total some kind of fantasy land. I don't even understand like why anyone even would like deal with it. And they've destroyed everything and killed the birds, blah, blah, blah. But the same with solar panels. Excuse me, it's my nose. wants to clog up. It's weird, but I'm not anyway. But the thing with solar panels, it's the same story. They don't last forever, okay? And these various components are computer-based, chip-based. You know, you need a charge controller. You know, you need these. There's various components, as batteries, you know, that have a certain life. You know, everything involved in the whole process are all things that don't last forever. You know, they're not 40 years. You know, you a house. Some people buy a house, at least, you know, families, people who grew up in a family home. You know, like me, my parents, I mean, they eventually moved to Florida when they got older and retired. But what the thing was, they bought that house, I don't know, in the 60s or something. They might have bought that house, something like that. And they didn't sell it until, they might have bought it late 50s, early 60s, and they didn't sell it. I don't think they moved to Florida till the late 90s. So, you know, you're talking, you know, so almost 2000, you know, people are in a house almost 40 years. Put it that way. All right. Even if it's 35 years or something like that. None of these renewable energy things last that long. Like even when they talk about windmills, they try to say, well, they've got like a 20-year life expectancy, but they don't really. They're like been already 12, 15 years. They're already like falling apart. All right. But even if they went that long or close to their max, that would mean you would need two systems. You would have to replace the system. So in other words, say you own your house and you get approached by this block group, whatever they are, this Bill Gates, Bezos, and all these Wall Street, Goldman Sachs. You should see all the big investment firms are into this, because this is all part of that World Economic Forum thing where you will own nothing and you will be happy. In other words, they want to buy your house and lease it back to you, in effect. But they're pretending that what you're leasing, really what you're doing is financing the fact that they're turning your house and your neighborhood into a green neighborhood. And that's how they're twisting this. They're using this global warming, climate change thing to get home ownership, to eliminate home ownership, and to basically own you. It's a feudal system. They don't want people to have their own property. You see, you will own nothing and you will be happy. That is really on their website and in that Klaus's book. Okay. So they claim, and in this presentation, they were saying, yeah, once you would lease this system, then it would be yours. But what they didn't tell you, by the time your lease, you've paid off the initial lease, the equipment that you paid for is now outdated and is no longer functioning. And so you're going to have to renew that lease. And if you can't pay the lease, there's a stipulation in the contract that they can foreclose on your house because you've signed over your property as like collateral or whatever for them to make your house green. And see, that's the underhanded, that's what's going on with this. And that's why when I tell you these crazy things, like the airports are hotter than here out in the fields, or the streets, right? The average town USA, any town USA, and that the cities, major markets, right? New York City and Philly, right, are hotter and they have the temperature gauges in those cities, right, where the major TV stations and the networks are. It's like DC and New York and LA, right? Dallas, Miami, right? New Orleans, right? Been all these places. Those cities generate their own heat, and they're hotter, so they use them. They mess with us, man. They mess with us, and they ignore things like La Nina and El Nina, and it's just the solar cycles. Natural solar cycles happen every 11 plus years. The weakening magnetic field, long-term Earth cycles, climatary cycles. The fact that we're in an interglacial period right now, the natural state of the Earth once it cooled was basically frozen, But this is their not latest. This is a plan. It's starting to come out, I guess is what I'm trying to say. They're starting to show, because they're getting closer and closer to this 2030 thing that they've established. And so, these things are starting to be unveiled and roll out. And people are going to look like, yeah, okay, I want a greenhouse. Yeah, I'll be great having solar panels on solar. Okay, the whole neighborhood, we're going to all sign over. But what they don't realize is you take this neighborhood, particularly these people, like I say, if you go from the mid-Atlantic, that's called mid because it's somewhat middle of the country. So like when I'm telling you, and I have to go look at my app here again, or whatever. Yeah, it's 30 degrees now. See, it always gets right before sunrise. It usually gets the coldest. And so it's 30 degrees. That's 2 degrees below freezing Fahrenheit and basically just below, 0 Celsius. Okay? Freezing. All right? Freezing. Now, you got solar panels on your roof. This time of year, luckily you don't have a couple inches of snow on them. Think of a house. If you've never been to Brooklyn, Brooklyn's like, it's like semi-suburban New York kind of in a sense, but it's neighborhoods, it's houses. Most houses are, 2 stories, some are 3, whatever. But they're houses like my neighborhood. It's just, and, they get snow on their roof. Well, you're not going to go up there with a broom and brush the snow off your solar panels. So they were talking about, they were just talking as an example, starting this program in some neighborhood in Brooklyn. And I'm thinking, okay, you get a good snowstorm. It's, in February. It's 20-some degrees outside, high 20s or whatever. Wind's blowing. Your solar roof is covered with snow. You're no longer on the grid. You don't have a gas furnace. What are you going to do? Or you are connected to some old grid or a new grid or whatever. Like I say, the sheer miles of the grid in this country is just incomprehensible to replace. It's just not happening. So this is all just a scam to steal your property. Because those people in that Brooklyn neighborhood that they were using as an example, Or who knows, maybe by now they are already like assigning away their properties. They're going to freeze to death. And then in 15 years or more, that system is going to basically be useless and it's going to have to be replaced. And so what? They're going to lose their sign something and lose their house. And so maybe they'll come in and put in a new system. But you like think of the logistics of this. Okay, so you have 300 million people. Say there's 100 million households, right? How are they going to, if you implement a program and they're on this 2030 thing, like they want to really rush this thing. So say they're able to do this within some, I don't know how they could do it in a decade even, right? But say they even just were able to somehow do several tens of millions of homes, like 10, 20 million homes. I can't imagine, you have to understand, you have to watch crews work. Like this, in where I live, they're like working on this street and they're so inept. They're working their way back up the street again, redigging and reopening the street for the 4th time in some areas, the 3rd time in other areas. In other words, they screwed up royally. My house has got my porch steps, concrete, are like ruined, from all the digging and how bad a job the way they dug the street up and didn't properly fill it. And these trucks go up and everything's shaking and I've got cracks in the walls and stuff. But what I'm saying is, so when you see a crew and you see like, okay, a bunch of these guys, and it's usually these guys, they're, so much, the sexist, thing, so much for feminism, and all these, the way they talk on TV. If you ever watch these crews, I haven't seen a single woman on this crew that's out here, this major contracting company. It's just all guys, right? And, so there's like 30 of them, say, I don't know, on this crew. And they've got this staging area where they got all their heavy equipment that, by the way, runs on fossil fuels. They don't run on batteries, okay? So in order to do all this stuff, think about this Brooklyn, hoisting people up, installing these systems and stuff like that, the creation of all these devices, right? Remember, hoisting a windmill up takes a crane. Cranes run on like diesel and stuff. The whole thing's farcical. I mean, it's insane that people just sit there and believe that this is real, even, right? And so how would you, once these things fail, or just even the idea of doing it, where are you going to get the manpower to do this? You need, the average person, I don't care who you are, but just ask somebody. It takes a certain person with training to be able to go up on a 3rd-story roof and install solar panels. Or even, if you go with that Musk Solar City, like, which I like, and I did a show once and said I wouldn't mind having it, where they have like the solar panels that kind of look like roofing tiles or roofing, shingle type of things. But you're talking about, you would need somebody a professional roofer company or professional roofer individuals in order to install a new roof. And fixing a roof isn't just a matter of, we're just going to nail on some new solar panels. No, once you get on that roof has like, you got to dig out, old rotted parts. Most people's roofs are in pretty bad shape, right? Because your average roof only lasts about 20 years tops. Just the roof period. Let alone, you know what I mean? So it's not practical. It's like I used to say, remember when I told the story about when we used to do rush graphics in LA for people, for like the, movie stars and, the people, producers who would be in town to make a quick pitch for a film or something. and they'd want some business card or some presentation thing done the same day. And we used to offer that when I was out there, one of my first jobs out there. I told this story a couple of episodes ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. But we had an asterisk under it. We had same-day service. And the idea was same day, when, and the asterisk said, when humanly possible. Well, it's not humanly possible, all right, by the year 2030 or the year 2040 to convert 100 million some properties, roofs, to solar or whatever. I don't see where else. I don't see any space left to put any more windmills. Do you? If you've driven down a road. And then who's going to do it? That's what I'm trying to say too. So say you were just the colors are just like changing here for no reason, getting like greenish and weird. But like where is like say there were only 10 million, you were just going to deal with 10 million houses, all right? That's 10 million job sites. You know, with several million people, or with several, you know, people per job site, right? And even if you had like small crews, all right, you know, 3, 4, 5 people, right? That would be like, you know, anywhere from 30 to 40 million people, right? All trained roofers, you know, and trained with heavy equipment and in the trades, right? You understand? And that's like 1/3 of, you know, of the households, and doesn't even get into the idea of, you know, of all the down south, like all these managed care facilities, long-term care facilities, nursing homes, all these places along the Gulf. Really hard to get to places. Like, what are they going to do with people who live out in, you know, it's like Mayberry RFD, you know, right? Rural delivery type of houses, you know, in areas like this. What are they going to do? Just bulldoze? They've already started bulldozing down the houses in this neighborhood. But, you know, under the guise that, well, these were condemned homes, they've been abandoned. But the idea is it's like they're almost like looking and they're just waiting for the moment, right? For someone to say, you know, it's like, that's why one of the reasons I don't want to report my roof to my insurance company. Because they'll either say, oh, no, that's unrepairable. That house is condemned. You can't live in there anymore. We're going to bulldoze it. See, it's not humanly possible for them to do what they're claiming they're doing. So that's how you know the whole damn thing's a scam. And yesterday was confirmed when I realized that all these Wall Street firms were involved in this lease deal where they had the rights to the property and they could foreclose on the property if the person didn't pay the lease. And the idea that the average home, and especially places like Brooklyn, you know, those are family, people grew up in Brooklyn. It's like family homes, neighborhoods. So people have those homes. They live in those homes for their life, you know, or, you know what I mean? They buy their home when they, you know, you got New York City cops, firemen, you know, people work in hospitals, you know, people work in the city doing a job, and they have a house and a family in Brooklyn. Right? They live in a neighborhood. They, you know, they get their house in their 20s and they live there for like 40 years. And then maybe they move to Florida when they retire. That's Brooklyn. So they're there for like 40 years, 35, 40 years. Well, that means those solar panels or whatever systems they're putting in there are going to only, at the very least, they're going to have to be replaced at least once. But the things like that, like I say, like the charge controllers and and all the other devices and the batteries and everything else that goes along with that, those things are all electronics and computer based, and they're liable to go on the fritz several times. Not to mention, if you don't have professional electricians hooking up the batteries, that's not something that the average person, you could just like give them a crash course in hooking this stuff up. It's high voltage, and I've I watch these DIY things on YouTube, these homesteaders, and I watch one particular guy, and you may or may not, I have such a small audience that probably don't know who I'm talking about. But this one guy happened to have been an electrician. So he hooked up the solar. And the amount of work they did and the amount of panels, and even he underestimated the number of panels they needed in order for them to have a refrigerator, washer, and dryer, and the basic creature comforts of the home that they were building from scratch. They did a good job, and they built a really nice home. But this guy had a front-end loader. They first, I don't know, had a dozen or so solar panels. They ended up with like 36 solar panels. They kept adding to the system. They had to build and these things, to poles, and they have to move them with the seasons, right? Because the sun, the planet, shifts on its axis. It's another thing they're not thinking about with these roofs. Are they facing south facing the right direction to get optimal sunlight? There are some areas, is there something blocking it? Like in Manhattan, there was a big issue, I remember a few years back where they were building these tall skyscrapers, and people who had lived in other apartment buildings, skyscrapers, so to speak, tall office or apartment buildings, that these new skyscrapers they were building were blocking the sunlight and the view from these newer places. So it was like, talk about urban sprawl. This was like the city congestion. That was an issue there for a while. I guess if you're a New Yorker and you're watching New York news, you know what I'm talking about. But other people in the country are clueless to this kind of stuff. So what do you do if you're in one neighborhood might get sun, but what if there's some houses on the other side of the street that are blocking the sunlight? You need to get X amount of kilowatt hours, in order to get the most from a solar roof. And like I say, windmills, man, that's, and the idea is, you could put nuclear power, convert to nuclear power like France did many, many years ago. But we're way behind the curve on that. We haven't been building any new nuclear plants. So you're talking about, and all kinds of approvals, and then again, experts, the type of people to build a nuclear power plant. And it's not a matter of saying, oh, well, we could do it. Yeah, you could build a couple, but this is a big country. And right now we have about 330 million people. I don't know how many square miles it is, but let's just look it up for the sake of it, Let's see if we could find that. New window. How many square miles is the United States? Somebody else looked it up. 3.79, so almost 4 million square miles. All right. 4 million square miles. And I know that may not mean anything to people, but think about it. 4 million square miles. 330 million people living on almost 4 million square miles. And you think you're going to what? What are you going to do? You got to cut down forests to put in windmills there. I mean, what the, what are you doing? It's like that thing I did, that Borg where I showed the Earth. They just want to turn the planet into what, a machine or something? For what? It's not going to improve your quality of life. Save the planet? The planet doesn't need saving. Everything. See, here's what you need to do. You need to go outside. Unless you live in some really weird area, right? I mean, if you're in Midtown Manhattan and you're next to some job site where there's guys using jackhammers and they've got some weird vehicle that's spewing out carbon monoxide. Remember, there's a difference between carbon monoxide and CO2, by the way. Carbon monoxide is a toxic chemical, and I'm against it. I'm against pollution, and I'm against noise pollution and air pollution and water pollution. Most normal people are, all right? But unless you're next to some guy using a jackhammer and with something that's spewing out a poison, right? Anywhere else on this 4 million square miles of this, beautiful country we live in, on a day like today, even here, it's going to be a little on the cool side, but it's going to be sunny. Yesterday, I sat outside on my chair after I have a push mower. It's not electric. All right. The old fashioned, you push it, human powered, right? And I did a little bit of that, and I'm going to do a little more today in my yard. I did the side of my, on the other side of my fence that faces the doctor's office, because the grass over there was getting really big. But after that, I was pretty well beat because, human power, my human power cells needed a rest. And I'm sitting there and I'm soaking up the sun because even though it was cool outside where I was sitting in south facing, I was getting some color on my face, feeling that sun. And, I'm trying to almost losing my thoughts here. But what I'm trying to say, it was a beautiful day. The sky was blue. The sun was out. And it was a beautiful day. That's what I'm saying. And the air was fresh and clean. And these coal trucks, they sneak them up here at the morning. It's like 5:36 a.m. And the later it gets, then it's over, And that's the same as they do with those immigrants. They sneak them over the border, from the border into towns, in the middle of the night. They fly them or bus them to places. It's a government, it's how things are. The average person, they wake up in their house, have their coffee, sit there, turn on the Good Morning America or something stupid like that, and listen to some crazy propaganda, half-truths or just outright lies. And they have no idea of what the world is really like. That's one of the reasons why I like being up early in the morning like this. I could see what's going on, and I could show you live what's happening, Like I say, this is the truth, 30 frames per second. But anyway, it's not humanly possible for them to do what they're claiming they're going to do. They themselves know this. It's just a scam to basically, you will own nothing and you will be happy. But you won't be happy because what they're trying to do is basically tell you that if they turn everything into, turn us into this Borg, and if you don't know what that is, turn the world into one big circuit board. Look at it that way. Not Borg with a G, but board, circuit board. Computer chip you and all that kind of nonsense. That somehow you're going to be happier than if you're out in the backyard looking up at a blue sky on a sunny day, breathing fresh air, looking at, watching trees and listening to birds chirping. Or, having your own house and, your own wife and making love, and not worrying without their weird technology or something is a tool or something you use for entertainment, but you're happiest, with your experiencing life through your senses. right? Sight, sound, touch, you know? You see what I mean? They're not, people don't think. They're not thinking. And so they hear this stuff, oh, global climate change, it's got to, yeah. I'm going like, yeah, on what planet? Mars, Venus? Yeah, definitely there was some kind of climate change on planet Venus, and Mars lost its frickin' atmosphere. That's why it's so ridiculous, people even wanting to do anything. Like I said many times, I'm all for, putting if a bunch of scientists want to put a research facility on Mars, go for it. We should already have one or several of them on the moon. It would be great to have a research facility on the moon and like a telescopes and a radio telescope and stuff up there. These places that have little or no atmosphere, instead of these space satellites or space telescopes, to have this stationary thing, an observatory on the moon would be cool. An observatory on Mars and a research base there, place where people could go, tied into like MIT or some major universities. People could, that'd be what a instead of going and spending a summer in Europe, a term in Europe while you're in college, you go to Mars for a term or go to the moon, or something. Yeah, that's fine and dandy, but you can't live there. There's no atmosphere. You can't breathe the air. You're going to be indoors. How long can people stand that, right? And plus, it's a shooting gallery. You never know. Something could break through your, wherever you are, unless you do what I do and say, if you're going to put bases on Mars, put them in the old lava tubes. And I described that thing that would just like expand, that would like make it airtight. Elon Musk doesn't watch this show, so. So anyway, that's just an interesting thing. I know I wasted a lot of time on that, and
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
But it's something that's being shoved down people's throats, and you're hearing about it every day, and nobody's really telling you it from my perspective. It's just really weird. It's bizarre. And it's no different than all this talk of nuclear war and all that kind of stuff. It's like, they could end that thing tomorrow with a phone call. But they don't want to. They're making too much money, the war-profiteers. And so it goes, like I say, the 40,000 people a week that are dying here in the U.S. from treatable, preventable types of ailments, type 2 diabetes, heart problems that are food related, obesity, kidney problems, all these types of things, right? Even cancers that are clearly caused by things you see on TV, there's lawsuits against. I talk about this all the time. 40,000 people a week on average, according to the CDC's leading causes of death. And those are statistics taken back in like 2018, 2019, something like that. You know what I mean? They haven't really updated it. The only thing they updated, I noticed, was they tried to add the plague numbers, like they wanted to plop that in there. But I noticed they didn't update the other numbers because everybody's been so fixated on that. No, this is besides those, not besides that thing that happened the past couple of years. They're probably going to bring it back this fall, coming to America soon. Right, it's in China now. So coming back to America soon. And then I was watching these guys, talking about the food shortages and all that stuff. That seems to be, getting a lot of traction and growing. So that's another reason why I garden, to grow my own food. But, if there are food shortages and stuff like that, I mean, people are going to freak out. So there's a lot of weird stuff going on right now, really weird, and nobody seems to be paying attention to it other than like sitting on the sidelines as like it's a spectator sport. Politics and the news is, it's like spectator sport. Let's sit down and watch the news. It's like, well, hey, it's war on TV, right? But meanwhile, all this stuff is going on that nobody's paying any attention to. And when they hear about it, it's like existential to their existence in their minds. Like they don't see it. It's like, what are they going to do when they can't get their frozen pizza? Right? Because there's a shortage of high fructose corn syrup or, whatever. The favorite ice cream or treats and whatever people live on, And they just don't see this stuff happening. But it is. It's happening. And what you need to do is grow some food. Is not to be dependent upon these people, or at least live in an area where there's enough people, a community that there seems to be enough people disinterested in this sort of thing. Excuse me, I have to blow my nose, and this is a live show. I'll turn this microphone off if I can find the switch. I don't even know where it is. Is this it? Excuse me for a sec. Hopefully you weren't able to see any of that. I could breathe a little bit better. Anyway. Forgive me for that. All right? I didn't mean to do that.
Okay.
Thank you for your understanding. Yeah, it's just wacky, right? It's just crazy. So, to go back to, I guess the title of this show, it's, smile, be happy, TGIF, even if it doesn't apply to you, right? And enjoy yourself the best you can. These weird reading glasses, I got to get some new ones. Because, it's a crazy world and things are getting crazier and crazier and nobody seems to be paying the slightest bit of attention to it. They just don't care. And, I do this. I don't know why. I mean, I'm trying to just wake people up to it and let them know, I guess, I feel compelled. I'm driven, right? It's a creative force. I guess that's why I don't do a lot of songwriting and book writing and different things like that right now, because this is like my creative outlet. And my driving force is to share this information with people, But obviously, by the fact that there's not a single viewer at 5:48 a.m. when there's 2 billion active users on YouTube, and I told you that Odyssey place turned me down. I replied to them yesterday saying, like, what the, They never replied back. These companies don't care. They don't get it. And it's crazy. We live in different worlds. That's basically it. It's not just like I've talked about in the past, breakaway civilization. There's this breakaway society, and then you've got the ruling elite versus whatever. And then you have the happy, mindless, I hate to use the word, idiots that just don't pay attention to anything, that are just like kind of zombies, watch the nightly news and do what they tell you to do. People who get, they do this fear mongering, and people they get into lockstep and, yes, I will do what you say, And so the thing I talk about, and anyone who watches this show, is that, I'm not trying to be an alarmist person, or fearmonger. What I'm saying is that, you have the right to reinvent yourself. You could just be happy. You could grow your own food or not grow your own food, but just be aware of what's going on around you and find a way to, carve out your existence, being cognizant of this madness, but make sure that you've got a life where your quality of life is as best as possible. Because, see, what they're promising, and I say they, I mean this ruling elite, the World Economic Klaus guys, these people that are trying to tell us this, that, the other, who keep getting busted, for lying all the time, right and left. But what they're trying to do is say, they're going to save the planet, make it a better world, blah, 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 bring on utopia. But when you really look at what they're saying and dig deep into it and really examine it, right, and question it and poke holes in it, you realize that there's nothing in there about quality of life and happiness. And like I've said all along on many a show, that all people are really concerned about is health and happiness. And these people they don't grasp that, or they grasp it for themselves, but they don't care about our health and happiness. And so you have to focus on your own health and happiness. And that's the thing. You want to be as healthy as you can. And you've got to watch out, because the stuff they're offering us is not healthy. The foods, people are dying. 40,000 a week are dying in this country alone, right? More so than those foreign wars and all this other stuff. America, 40,000 people a week are dying because of, the stuff we're consuming, the foods, and and the way that the lifestyle is set up in this country. 40,000 people a week, that's an awful lot, right? If you heard that 40,000 people were killed in Canada last week, right? That'd be like, people be like, oh my God, that's a major, well, 40,000 people are dying almost every week in the U.S. And it's preventable for the most part. And then happiness, they're just throwing fear at you. So I'm not part of that. What I'm saying is that, no, you've got to break away from that, and you have to realize that you could be your own person, and no state, how did I have to look at my own thing? I have to click here to see. Happiness is a state of mind, not state controlled. That's what I'm trying to say. So when I say smile, be happy, that's up to you. And no political, cult of personality character is going to make you happy. No political change of changing of the guard is going to bring you happiness. Happiness is a state of mind. You could be happy today. You know, if you're around the mid-Atlantic states, you know, at least within, I don't know, hundreds of miles, you know, east, west, north, and south of me, probably a lot of people down south. I didn't look at the, you know, the main weather map, right? We could do that just for the sake of it. I haven't done this in a while. Let's take a quick look. NOAA satellite imagery. Let's look at some of this. I think this is the one I used to use. Yeah, let's look at CONUS. And let's look at animation loop. Yeah, here we go. So here you can, here's the US. So I'm in the mid-Atlantic states. So this is the mid-Atlantic, right? This region here. All right. This is the Ohio Valley. You know, the Appalachians run up through there, you know. So you can, you know, I mean, I wouldn't want, over here it looks like there's some storms brewing and stuff happening. But for the most part, look at the whole Northeast, you know, down into Texas and the Gulf looks pretty good. There's some light clouds coming this way, but it doesn't look like anything too serious. Let's go back. Let's look at water vapor. Yeah. So it would seem to me that this is intense. There's some rain and some storms brewing up here. But you know, this is so fine and light here. I don't know if they get this one. Let's go back to let's go back to NOAA satellite. I'll go back to NOAA period. Yeah, NOAA map with temperatures. Let's see if we can grab one of these. This is really hard to find, and I don't know why they, you know, because they want to give this stuff to the, you know, like the Weather Channel or something. So it's very hard for us to find the maps, you know, short range forecast. Let's see. Yeah, that's like meaningless to us. Let's look at 12 hours. Yeah, these. We don't want barometric pressure and stuff. What we want to do is find out what the temperature. Well, let's just look at this. Okay. Actually, that's not going to work either. If you can see this, I'm trying to National Digital Forecast Database. Can we enlarge this somehow? Let's see. No. It just, whatever area you click. So weird, you know? It's like, but anyway, yeah, that's a total waste of time. This is what I'm trying to tell you. They don't care. Yeah. You know, we pay for that stuff. And, you know, we should be able to look at the weather map that has the temperatures of the whole country like they show you on the Today Show or one of those shows. But instead, you know, I'd have to sit here for a half hour, you know, trying to like dig through to find that. You know, anyway. Looks to me like most people in the eastern part of the United States, north and south, are going to have a pretty nice day today. Looks like in the Midwest there's some rain storms coming up, and Southern California I think is okay, and it looked like maybe the Pacific Northwest. Well, it's always kind of rainy and weird up there. But you could see the sun coming out here. You can see that house. My lights are flashing on my, if you're looking up at the camera 2 view, the lights are flashing because it's sunrise. We do this every morning. You could see they finished siding that extent part of the porch that comes out. So they're making progress on that house. It's nice. you know, little improvements. But, you know, and that's what I'm trying to say is, you know, you've got to live in your own world. You know, you've got to find a community. You got to find a place. You got to find people. You have to be happy. You got to smile and be happy. Happiness is a state of mind. And if they've pigeonholed you or tried to turn you into something, remember, you can reinvent yourself anytime you want to. You don't have to be the person that somebody on the news tells you you have to be. You're not defined, right? Happiness is a state of mind. It's not state controlled. And your personality, your lifestyle, who you are, what you do is not dictated by someone else. It's what you want to be. Be what you want to be. You know, do what you want to do. And if you're not at a position where you can do that, then you should like begin the process of trying to find. There's the droid in the back. Try to find a way to make affect those positive changes. And I put that's what's in my book, Then What? I have a page in there that has things you like, things you dislike, and things that make you happy, things that make you unhappy. And the whole idea, it's just a sheet, it's a worksheet. I've also has a budget in there because I think it's, you know, with inflation and all this crazy stuff going on, everybody should like redo their budget and be aware of that. You know, I have a budget I keep every month, you know, just keep on track on that. But I mean, you know, you got to weigh out the things that are making you happy or things that make you unhappy and see if the things that make you unhappy outweigh the things that make you happy in your current life. You've got to seek a way of moving towards a life, an existence where you have more things in your life that make you happy than make you unhappy. More things that you like to do than doing things you don't like to do. And like I said, I think I'm qualified to speak on this stuff because I've had so many, you know, really crazy things happen to me. You know, whether it was the cancer thing or, you know, this ongoing battle with this rodent, which I got a bag of concrete yesterday. I didn't even talk about that, you know. I'll get into that.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
Friend of mine dropped off a bag of concrete, just a small bag of cement. I probably could have used about 5. But I filled 2 areas where these rodents were getting in, right? And so yesterday, towards the end of the day, I'm up in my second floor, because like I say, my bedroom's my second floor in the rear. I'm looking out my second floor window, just out at the backyard, watching the birds at the bird feeder, and there's the rat. And I'm watching now. I want to see, okay, well, where's it going to go? Where's the latest hole? And now I find it runs over towards the side, which is like just a metal fence with a lattice on it towards the doctor's office. So basically, I guess I blocked every possible hole, you know, from the one side. So now it's like, what am I going to do? Put an 8-foot tall fence on the other side? All I could hope is that some hawk or owl, when the weather gets, you know, a little bit warmer next week, you know, starting towards this weekend, that something comes down, flies down, and just swoops them out of there. Because I still haven't seen any cats. It's crazy. But it didn't ruin my day or my night. And it's not going to ruin my day today because I have a feeling there's going to be a blue sky. It looks like a good morning. It's cold out there. I know. I have no reason to go out, walking anywhere because I'm going to get my workout doing some hand mowing my backyard. And when I, get a good enough workout in pushing that human powered lawnmower, and maybe just tweaking some of my garden, cleaning up here or there, I'm going to sit down on my chair, which I could show you. Here's my grow. We don't need to look at that anymore, but let's go to, let me pull this up and I'll show you what I'll be doing, where I'll be going. I've shown this before on my show, I think. Where is it? I just looked at it this morning, and now I can't see it. I don't see it. It's really weird. I know it's here. Here it is. I'm going to say, what the heck? I'm going crazy. Oh, it's sideways. How could... I'll tell you, I could fix this. Like I say, somehow the world is just out of whack. Where's the picture? Mini green. Okay. This will be like magic if I could do this. Let's see. Come on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Save. There we go. All right. Get rid of this. Okay, there's my chair. That's my mini greenhouse. And you can see some of this wildness, which I've already cleaned up. In front of the greenhouse, you can see a lot of wild growth from last year, but I've already cleaned that up since I took this picture. This is an older picture. But I'll be sitting on that chair, which is south facing, and I'm going to enjoy a blue sky day, if it's a blue sky day, and soak up some sun, right? And, and be happy. And you can't see it in that picture, but there's speakers above that, indoor-outdoor speakers. And I'll be listening to some music. So, my happiness will be my state of mind. It won't be state controlled. And that's, and that's it. So, be happy. That's the takeaway. Find happiness. And sometimes it works and you're going to be shot down and life is a struggle and it's sucks, but you can't be overwhelmed. I mean, and if you are overwhelmed, that's okay because we all are overwhelmed. That's part of human life. The struggle of life is part of it. Being overwhelmed is part of it. Happens to us. It's just like tragedy, grief, and depression. We all suffer these things from time to time. But the idea is that you can't let them get the better of you. You have to basically smile and be happy. You have to find happiness and put yourself in a state of mind where you, and sometimes literally a place, a physical place, not just a mental space, but a physical space where you are as happy as you can be. And not be so caught up. And that's what I was trying to say about what they're trying to do. It's like turning, somehow turning your house into some kind of so-called green energy property, which is unrealistic for most people. For some people, it's very realistic. I mean, if you have a south-facing home and you've got the property and a big enough roof that could generate enough kilowatt hours, But, you got to remember, you might be used to using a washer and a dryer, an electric dryer, right? A refrigerator, right? An electric stove, right? Imagine cooking, what about the holiday season, cooking a Thanksgiving turkey where you've got an oven on, an electric oven on for hours. And using the stovetop to prepare other stuff, right? Baking cookies. You know what I mean? Doing a load of laundry and then 2 loads of laundry. So you got the washer going while you got the dryer going. And you've got stuff in the refrigerator. Okay? Meanwhile, somebody's taking a shower. They've got, the fan on and there, and people are using computers. You see what I mean? A lot of this stuff they're trying to tell people is just unrealistic. Solar isn't that, unless you have, I've watched these people, electricians, put these systems in, and they just keep adding and adding because in order, otherwise it'd be like, it's like the old times, or if you have an old house. In fact, my house isn't even like that. But there would be people like, don't wash the dishes or flush the toilet while I'm taking a shower. I don't want to, burn, you know what I mean? Because the plumbing in an old house sometimes were like that. Well, imagine someone saying, we can't wash the clothes. Don't use the dryer while I'm cooking, trying to make breakfast, or the refrigerator, the circuit breaker's going to flip if you use the, open the freezer, get some ice cubes out while somebody's, don't turn on the dishwasher. People have dishwashers, and it's all electric. What? Don't use the garbage disposal because I'm using such and such. There's a lot of electricity in a house. A lot of electricity in a house. This is an electric society. And it's like these fossil fuels, as people call them. I call it organic. It's plant matter from the earth. CO2 is a trace gas, 0.004. It makes the planet green, for crying out loud. I mean, I'm saying that so many times every day, it's ridiculous. And it's like, they're leaving that out of the story. That's called the lie of omission. When someone will report the story. There's a neighborhood in Brooklyn where Bill Gates and several groups of financial investment firms, Wall Street firms, are going to be taking entire blocks, and they're going to be making them green. And this is just first in a series of greening the planet and saving Mother Earth. But they leave out the idea, and where they're going to basically foreclose on these poor people's houses in the coming years, and they're not going to nearly have the quality of life that they have now. In other words, what I'm trying to say is, okay, there's this alleged CO2 in the atmosphere right now, right? Yet yesterday I saw a blue sky, and I'm breathing fresh air in pretty much coal country. You just watched a train of coal trucks going to feed an electric power plant that's two of them actually, that are powered by coal, meaning even your electric car around here, your battery's being charged by coal, technically. I've got a gas stove and a gas furnace that just is allowing me to it's warm in this room, even though it's 30 degrees, but it's below freezing right now. Okay? Excuse me.
Really funny. Really funny.
You can't have a show without that. Okay. So yeah, this is
The station for more fun in the sun.
This is the station for some more fun in the sun. It's a sunny day. It's going to be a sunny day. And if it's not a sunny day, we've got one or two coming this weekend. Enjoy it. There's nothing wrong. They're telling, it's like somebody's trying to tell you that, there's a problem when you're going, there isn't a problem, right? What's the problem? Well, it's going to cause what? Al Gore said this, what was it, 2008 or like in the early 2000s? A couple of decades before that, they were saying the earth was going to become a frozen wasteland, right? The next ice age was coming. They've been fear-mongering. They just keep changing their tune. It's like 15 years ago, Al Gore was like, the sky was falling. It's not falling. Okay? It's not falling. So, live your life. If it's a blue sky day, breathe the fresh air, get outside when it gets warmer. It will get warm. It's going to warm up by the afternoon, And this weekend, it's going to be fairly nice. Next week's supposed to be decent. Might rain here or there. That's okay. But, it's finally the season's changing. It's been sluggish and slow, and definitely, it's not global warming. It's been colder than it should be, but it's eventually summer's going to be here. It says no data. Yesterday there was a portion of my show that was cut out. So if there's a thing that happens again today. See, they have the algorithms that like key in on certain words. And if you say something, they're so sophisticated now, they'll like actually snippet that out, even in a live broadcast. Like I say, it's 2020, the sophistication of these things is crazy. I'd like to get off this platform altogether, but as it stands right now, this is the only one to do the live thing. Though Rumble wants you to pay so much per month to broadcast live. And then there's limits on that. So the more you pay, the more you could do it. So if I wanted to do daily shows like this, it'd cost me like, whatever. I don't have it. I don't have that extra money. If people were buying these hats and stuff, maybe I'd have it. But, people don't care. And, I have to laugh, when you look and see that I get 1 view, 2 views, 3 views, 4 views, 5 views. Impossible. You think those people at that Odyssey that turned me down, right, would have like looked at that and said, oh, this guy clearly is being like blocked, Everyone I talk to says the same thing. They've never seen anyone have, 5 views. 2 views. There are videos within the past several weeks that have 1 view. And that 1 view is me when I went on through another browser to share it. I think it counted me as a viewer because I wasn't logged in. I was just sharing the link to post it to some social media sites to try to get it out there. And it is on like a half dozen social media sites, the links. No, it's not, this is a pretty wild show. It's different. It's zany. It's crazy. It has at least an interesting beginning. And I don't even get somebody to tune in, to catch the beginning and then say, the guy's got goofy hat and glasses, the heck with him. You see what I mean? I could understand that. I could relate to that. People look at something, you go, that guy's an idiot. But when you look at all my title cards, some of them, there's like such a variety. The idea that people aren't even clicking on that means that this is like blocked or something. They're doing something to this. Or as one person said, they're hiding the numbers because they don't want people to know that it's popular. Right? So maybe the 3 views is really 3 million. right? They take the M off it, or 3,000. There's three. They could be. They don't want to know that this kind. You know, they don't want people to think, because perception is reality. You know, that's how people are. That's why they have on. Do you ever notice on the pay movie sites and stuff like that? They always have trending or what's popular now, right? And those are all like self-fulfilling, prophecies, whatever you want to say. But the idea is that if it says it's trend, people want to know what's popular, so they push on. They see, here's the number one most popular movie in the nation, so people will click on it and watch it because some editor says it's the most popular, right? Or here they'll say here's 10 that are trending. What do you mean they're trending? See, it's like a self-fulfilling thing. They're creating the trend. There had to be, when you see, here's how you have to look at it. You have to understand from like a guy like me who's been a webmaster, been an advertising creative director, who's been involved in the entertainment business. All right. And a code writer. So someone had to create the page. So if you go to Amazon Prime or Netflix, forget Netflix, man. I'm glad to see that that's going down. Or HBO, which is also a waste of time too. But whatever your little subscription service is, right? And they have a thing called trending, what's popular, right? Top 10. Okay. Think of it this way. There had to be day one. Somebody had to create that week had to put in the first, those first 10 movies in an order, and someone else had to put in the graphics for what's trending, right? You got to start it in order for it to trend. It has to be created. See, people don't think behind the scenes. So why would they, right? Because they don't understand, it's like the man behind the curtain, Wizard of Oz. So when, it's like a New York Times bestseller list, or Amazon, how they cheat with the books, like the publishers, they buy up like 5,000 of a book so that it's the bestseller. It becomes the bestseller of the day. And so people look and go, wow, that book's a bestseller. In other words, if you're a billionaire out there and you buy 5,000 of my book, then what? I guarantee you that I'll instantly sell another 5 or 10 or 15,000 books, because people see, oh, wow, it's the bestseller. This is trending. This is what's popular. You understand? They create this stuff. There's got to be a start to it. It's not infinity. It's not like it lasts forever and ever and ever and ever. You know what I mean? But people never think about these things. They don't think about like that. Well, how's it trending? How popular is it? Is it popular, in other words, if you put up what's popular this week and I turn it on, does that mean that only 10, is it popular among 10 people? Right? Is it trending among, a couple of dozen people? At that point, at one point is, does it become self-fulfilling? And is it basically pushed by the editors and by people paying, because that's how everything works. There's always somebody behind the scenes paying somebody, right? It's like Congress. Congress is basically, that's why I call it a corporatocracy. Campaign investors, K Street, these are the people that pay and actually write the bills and put amendments in the bills and support these people's political campaigns. There are wars that last longer or even begin in the first place because there are weapons manufacturers that are in the business of making money selling weapons. So they're war-profiteers, right? Big medicine doesn't want to cure certain diseases when they could make hundreds of billions of dollars treating them. That sounds cruel, and people say, oh, that's impossible. Think about it. They've been talking about cures for 50 years of certain things. They haven't cured them. It's the year 2022, the technology we have. Come on. Give me $50 million in 90 days and I'll cure half the diseases that people have. Cure them, not treat them. Cure them. You know, put a brain trust together, put together a super lab. I'll solve these problems. Like I say, that war over in Europe, that could be, or not even Europe, eastern part of the east of Europe. That could be ended with a phone call if there was the will to do it. They're making too much money. Why are those pesticides and weed killers still on the market when there's advertisements on television saying that they cause, there have been settlements in court against them? So you just pay the settlement and then you could keep selling the product? Right? Do you understand? Everything you know is wrong. That saying I have above my hat is not there for, just dressing, set dressing. When I say you don't know what you don't know, right? It's there for a reason, and there's a reason why you should have it on your shirt, and wear it. Push the ROCKFLUX thing. These are comfortable hats. I got some cool stuff, man. Like I say, I test everything I do. I have out there. That hoodie up there, then what? Man, that's so comfortable. And that's like the ultimate question, Anyway, thanks for tuning in. I hope you have a great day, and I hope you could find enjoyment in your TGIF if you're like a wage slave. That you could smile and be happy like this, like me as the idiot there on the title card. I know, weird thing. I don't mind making a fool out of myself. What the heck?
Good morning.
Yeah, so, get my stuff, because I'm going to get rid of the bucket hat there. Because I think what I want to put is the, I'm going to put the Be Nice 2. I'm going to put the Be Nice 2 file there, since I like that shirt hasn't been shown. Bear with me. Anyway, go to rockflux.com while I do this stuff. Or not while I do it, but check out my shirts and get some of this stuff. The grid's going to eventually go down, and you're going to want it. I know that I seem like I'm totally out of touch, but what I'm trying to do is bring up the Be Nice girl. Okay, there she is. And what I wanted to do is put her here, but I have to do this. I don't mind doing this while I'm talking to you. I need to crop this. So left side crop 100. Let's try 120. If I could put that there. Yeah. Nice. Okay, sorry for that little weirdness, but anyway, so, the Be Nice shirt, the bag, all this stuff is available. My books, Then What? Get them in print. Codex. Great Solar Stuff has this power backup. My clothing line is there. All this stuff can make a difference. I've tested and bought everything. It's all good. I've run it, put the clothing through the wringer, washed them, dried them, all that kind of stuff. You know, whatever. Anyway, have a beautiful day. Thanks for hanging around. And I'll talk to you soon, most likely tomorrow, hopefully. Take care. Cheers.